Hello, Missy. Okay, everybody, I'm showing it's 12 o'clock. I'm going to get started. Most of you already know my name is Karen Fredericks. I am a CRM specialist. I have certifications in Zoho, Act, Sugar CRM, HubSpot. I've been certified in Salesforce. Zoho is indeed my favorite program, so that's the one that I hold these webinars on. I had to kind of struggle with the name for today's webinar because I like the idea of calling it the Luck of the Irish, since yesterday was St. Patrick's Day, but I do always traditionally hold my webinars on Wednesdays. And if this is the first one that you're attending, please put them on your schedule, because I think every Wednesday when I run these, you're going to learn something. And today we're going to be talking about some of the new features that have popped up in Zoho. Zoho is constantly adding new features to their product. I'm just highlighting the ones that I think are the most important and the ones of most value. A couple of them I'm not quite as thrilled about, but I want to introduce you to all these features and see if there's something in there you might be interested in. So the features that I'm going to be talking about today, we're going to be talking about Zaya, which is the Zoho artificial intelligence, the CRM for everyone UI, which includes split view and team space. We're going to talk about some quick access tools, a couple of new field options, and we're going to be talking about work drive, work queue, and the voice of the customer. Does everybody see at least one feature that they're not familiar with? Can I have a thumbs up if you're seeing at least one thing that you haven't seen before in this list? Okay, want to make sure I'm hitting the right topics. So that's great to know. If you're seeing some new stuff, that's what I was hoping. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of a disclaimer. Not all CRM versions include all features. And I'll try to denote that when I go through, like, oh, this feature isn't available in CRM standard. The new features are not rolled out at the same time. They roll them out in stages. Zoho is fairly conservative. They've got a lot. They've got over 100 million users. So they don't just pop a new feature out for 100 million people, because if there's a problem, then they have to fix it, or there might be fielding phone calls from 100 million people. So they set these features out in stages. And if they don't get, complaints, they don't hear any feedback, then they set them out to more people and more people. So they're pretty conservative about rolling them out. So you might not have all these features available to you yet. And again, I'm going to go through this material really quickly, but the recording will be on my YouTube channel within a few days. You'll get a link to that as soon as the meeting is over. So another little warning, if you're looking for a large price increase, you're not going to find it. I get people that say, oh, they're adding all these new features. They're good. I don't want to go with Zoho. They're going to be increasing the price. No. And in fact, the last price increase that Zoho had was back in 2021, which would have been 5 years ago. And at that time, Zoho One, which is the most expensive product, went from $440 to $444 per year. That was a whopping $4 a year for their high-end product. So no, they give you the stuff, and they traditionally don't increase pricing. So to keep up with the changes, obviously you could take my webinars. The other way you can find out for yourself is if you hit your profile picture in Zoho. where there's, access to all kinds of different help screens. They have something called What's New, and that takes you to a dedicated webpage that Zoho has for their new features. And you can search for things if you're saying, oh, is there something new in Notes? Or you could just look through there. I look through here all the time. Honestly, some of the features are very technical. They're things that aren't going to pertain to most of us. But I try to grab out the ones that I think are the most exciting. So new features are also easy to identify. When you go into various areas in Zoho, you're going to see this little yellow thing here, like you see next to Canvas. I don't know what that thing is. It's some kind of plus sign, maybe a star. I call it the Subaru sign. I'm not really sure what it is, but that means, oh, there's a new feature. So anytime you see that, you know it's a new feature. Now, this is a new one. This little green key means early access. You can sign up for early access to new features. Warning, sometimes those new features are not ready for prime time, but I get all the features. I have early access. So sometimes I will see a symbol like that tells me, ooh, this is something that's new that we're trying. So the first feature that I'm going to go over is Zaya, and Zaya is Zoho's artificial intelligence, and it's everywhere, and it's popping up in more and more places. And to turn it on so that it pops up in all those places, you want to go into your setup area, again, that little gear shift, go into the Zaya section and turn on Smart Prompt. Now, you can use artificial intelligence. You don't have to use the Zaya, the Zoho flavor. You can use OpenAI. You can use Gemini with Google. You could use Anthropic, or some of you know as Claude. You could use other ones. You can only use one level of AI. You can't have multiple strains going. And I also want to give a little disclosure on that. I used OpenAI for a while, ChatGPT. You have to have the paid version. You can't use the free version of OpenAI or ChatGPT. You have to have the paid version. I used it for a while. They charge you so much every time you use it. And I found that the Zaya one was just as good, and it was free. So, hey, I'm cheap. I went with the free one. So some of these features, this feature here, I do not believe is in the Zoho standard version. So if you go into the Zaya area, look for Smart Prompt. I think if you're in the standard version of CRM, you don't have this. So sorry about that, but might be a reason for you to upgrade to one of the other versions. So here's where Zaya is showing up, that AI. Note writing and summarization, composing email sentiment, intelligent lead scoring, predictive insights, and Ask Zaya. So some of my favorites, note writing, we're going to be showing that. And composing email sentiment. I'm using Outlook with my Zoho. Over a period of time, I have conversations with various clients, and I get an idea, are they happy, are they sad, are they confused, because it starts showing me the sentiment. I'll be showing you that in a minute. We have intelligent lead scoring. So if you have some new leads that come in, and some of them you've had multiple emails with, some of them you haven't, it's going to take that in consideration, give them a higher lead score. Predictive insights, if you've had a pattern of certain leads that close, go into deals, and then close, it's going to start being able to predict, oh, there's likelihood this guy kind of matches that criteria that you have. This guy's probably going to close. And of course, we have Ask Zaya, which Zaya is down in the bottom right hand of your screen. You can go in there and ask Zaya things like, how do I import a list of my trade show leads? Or how many leads came in this past week? Or who logged the most calls? So it's all over the product. So here's Zaya in Notes, which I think is super cool. So you know how to add a note. So you go to, click on to add a note. And now you're going to see this little thing that says Zaya. And you click on that. And you type, it's going to give you some suggestions. Oh, do you want to have a summary of this whole contact record? Would you like to have a summary of just the notes? What kind of note would you like? And you could certainly, click one of those choices or type in what kind of note you would like it to create. Now, we can also do this in email, which I think is even more super cool. So here's an example of that predictive emotions, so to speak. Here's one of my clients, and I don't think Andrew is here, but if he was, he could see that in the last email from him, Zoho decided he was happy. It shows me this is the happy emoticon. But I have some bad news for him. So when I go in to compose an email for him, I hit the Zaya button, and Zaya says, well, what would you like to say? And I say, well, write an email explaining that the price of consulting services is increasing from $150 to $175. And, we all love to send those emails to our clients, that kind of bad news thing. So I asked Zaya to do it. And it writes me the email, gives me a subject line, tells me, here's the email. Would you like to use it? And if I want it, I put it into my email, hit send, I'm done. Now, if I want, I can also say to Zaya, can you make this shorter? Can you make this more humorous? Can you make this more professional? So that's an example how Zaya is tied into our email. Now, this is not a feature that we're going to cover. This is not a feature that most of you are ever going to use. But if you're like I am and you have Netflix and you have the paid, the one that comes with the paid advertising at the beginning of Netflix, you might have seen this big to-do about Salesforce's Agent Force. If you follow Salesforce at all, they're so big on Agent Force. It's the best things in sliced bread. They're talking about right, left, and sideways. Agent Force is the best example would be if you had a website and someone comes to your website and you ask them, what is your eye color and how much do you weigh? What is your height? And you type in the details and then it suggests clothing that might, fit your, those parameters. That's an example of what we call AI agent, an agent. And Salesforce charges for it on top of Salesforce. So if you want to use this feature in Salesforce, it's going to be $125 per user per month on top of your Salesforce pricing. And of course, they require that, if you're using service, you have to have the enterprise version of Salesforce. So it gets very pricey. And this is the big Salesforce thing that they love. Zoho, on the other hand, has something called Agent Studio. It's their version. It's included free. That would be FREE, free of charge with Zoho One, which means you'll see it if you're using Zoho Desk or the enterprise version of CRM that comes with Zoho One. And again, this is not something a lot of you are going to use, but if you have a bigger organization and you've been looking at AI agent, yes, we have it. And it's called Agent Studio. So the next feature that I want to go into is CRM for everyone. A lot of you have been logging into CRM and you get this purple thing up at the top that says CRM for everyone. Access it now. Half of you hit the access now button and then are totally lost because someone moved your cheese. The other half of you are afraid to hit that button because you think it's going to cost you something. It doesn't. That CRM for everyone is just a new user interface. It's just making Zoho look different. That's all. Now, Zoho CRM is not for everyone. It makes me remember when I was in high school and I'd say, Mom, everyone's going there on Friday night. And of course, my mother said, yeah, but you're not everyone. You ain't going. So some of you might not like this interface and you can switch back to the old interface by clicking your profile picture and clicking switch to old version. This is not a company-wide thing. You could be using the new interface and the rest of the people in your team can be using the old interface. If you like it, great, use it. If you don't like it, switch back. Now, the key differences between the old interface and the new interface is the new interface puts all this navigation stuff on the left-hand side instead of across the top. Those of you that used to use ACT might like it better because this is more like what ACT did. We have a couple of new features. One is Team Spaces that's only available with that new interface. We'll be talking about that in a minute. We have something called requester roles. This is, I haven't seen a lot of people loving this. It means you can purchase these special users, and these special users only have access to certain areas, and they can go in there, see certain things and say, oh, can you write a task for this, or can you do this, or you could do that. I think they're going to be building that out. The settings and menus, I'm going to now have egg on my face because when I wrote this, I said the settings and the menus are off here to the left-hand side. So your profile picture and your setup and everything's on the left-hand side. Mine just miraculously moved up to the top right corner. So they do move things from time to time. I mean, from the time I did the slide to the time I looked at my Zoho, it had moved once again. We do have themes. The traditional Zoho only comes with a light colored background. The new CRM for Everyone gives you a dark, a light, or what they call an auto mode. And we also have something called split view, which we'll be seeing in a minute. So to change those display mode colors, how many of you have discovered this? How many of you, first of all, how many of you are using that CRM for Everyone? Okay, thumbs up if you're using that CRM for Everyone. You click the button. Not many of you are using it. Okay. A couple of you are using it. There you go. All right. How many of you knew that you could change that dark background to a light background? Did anybody discover that? Because I haven't seen anybody that's discovered that. No, one person found it. Okay, well, that's good. So if you hit your profile picture, it's going to give you a mode, a day mode, a night mode, or an auto mode. Day mode is going to give you a light colored background. Night mode is going to give you a dark colored background. It's funny, my husband's cell phone, he has everything on dark mode. I hate using his cell phone, his emails, everything. He just likes that dark background. I like the white. I don't know if it's a female male thing, but if you prefer a lighter background, you can have it. If you like the darker background, you can have it. Auto, honestly, I have not tried. It supposedly reads your resolution settings and decides automatically what would be best for you. Yeah, I kind of decided what was best for me was the light. So again, you have those choices. If this black is just a little bit ominous for you. To me, it reminds me of old-time DOS. Okay. Third feature we have, if you are using the CRM for Everyone, it's called the split view. So sometimes you're in your contact list and you keep filtering it. First, you want to see the people in Illinois, then you want to see the people in Indiana, or you're looking at the deals. And first you want to see Susie's deals, then you want to see Bob's deals. And you keep switching back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We could do a split view. And as the name implies, it will take your list view, whether it's a list of deals, list of accounts, even a list of tasks, and it will split them. So the way it works is you go up here, and traditionally we have our list view, we have our Kanban view, we have our Canvas, kind of fancy list view. Now we have something called the split view, which is this guy. You hit split view, you create a new one, you give it a name. So I call this one customers versus vendors. And I said, okay, on the top of my screen, I have a field called type. And I want to see anybody who the contact type is customer. And then I added the second split down here. And I said, okay, this is going to be the vendors in the bottom. And I want this to be anyone whose type is vendor. Now, I know I have a lot of the Signorama folks on board. They're really concerned about installations, and they may have different types of installations. They may have this task list that is going, out the wazoo and back. They might say, okay, let me split this between my big sign installations and my small sign installations, whatever you might want to be looking at and comparing at one time. So the split view is going to look like this. I go into my contacts. Oops. I go into my contacts, for example, and I'll see my customers up in the top, and I see my vendors down the bottom. Again, if this was tasks, you'd see, one type of task up here, the second type of task up here or down here. If it was deals, you'd see these deals up here, these deals down here. So that's called the split screen, only available with that new UI. Team Space, again, only available with the new UI. In the old UI, we had something called tab groups. Those tab groups determine what features you see across the top of Zoho. So in the tab groups, you might not use invoices. You might not use quotes. You might not use deals. You could remove those from your tab groups to make Zoho look simpler. It doesn't mean you don't have access to it. It just means when you go in, it's going to look simpler. Team Space replaces those tab groups and puts them up here where it says Zoho CRM. So here's kind of a before and an after. So here's all the different features that I have: tasks, meetings, and products, and quotes, and sales orders. Oh my, all kinds of things. And I just had somebody yesterday and they used the exact words. He said, this is overwhelming. And yes, Zoho can be overwhelming because there's a lot of stuff and you may not use all that stuff. So what we did over here is I limited. So I've got my contacts, my accounts, my task meetings, and my calls. And then I made some folders. And what I did is like I made a folder called sales and I put in the campaign leads and deals modules because that's where my salespeople are hanging out. Or I might have the accounting department and that might have the sales orders and the purchase orders and that stuff. So each person can have kind of just looking at the stuff they need to have rather than looking at everything in the database. And we can assign these team spaces to different users. So when I customize the team spaces, I basically go in here and I can move. It's kind of a drag and drop. I can decide what's going to go into each area of the team space. And then I can assign these team spaces to the specific users. And again, this is purely, again, I've written dummies books for a living. I like to maybe dumb things down a little bit. And this is the way to not feel so overwhelmed in Zoho. So the fifth new feature, that's a very cool one, is quick access tools. And you get to those quick access tools, you're looking at a list view of all your contacts or list view of all your accounts. And you know that we can customize our columns by hitting this little, I call it the swimming fishes, the left and right fishes or left and right arrows. You click that and that'll let you customize your columns and decide what columns and you can drag and drop these and decide what columns you want. But we have the old one that's always been there, the activity badge, and then a new one called the note badge. And these are things you can add to the front of your list views. And the way this looks is this is your activities. And this is a really cool thing. So again, if you picked activity badge, you're going to be seeing if there is something scheduled in the future. So if you're looking at a list of your best clients, oh, I got something scheduled for him and something scheduled for her and something scheduled for him. You can see that visually. And people like to see things visually. What do I have to do? Where am I going to, know where to go? Now, the notes badge is really more than the notes badge. They should have called it a little bit of everything badge because it gives you a lot of things. You can hit basically the little note icon. If you hit this little note icon, rather than having to go into this contact record and look through the notes, you can hit this note button and it will show you all of the contact's notes. It will also let you add a new note. So it's, again, instead of having to go here to Pat's record and click and go down in the notes area and type in a note, you can just type in a note. You're going down a list, you go, oh yeah, I meant to tell people about this. Or, oh yeah, I remembered this. Quickly, you can put in a note. You also have other things. You could go in to edit the contact. You can send them an email. You can create a task. Oh, that's right. I forgot. I need to remember to do this, that, or I call this the 2 a.m. wake up call. Oh, did I remember to do so and such and such? You can go into your list. You can change the owner if you have multiple users and you want to change the contact owner. You can do that from here. You can delete the contact. So it's all kinds of fun things we can do with that new note entry item. Missy, I'm going to pause here. Do we have any questions?
Not yet.
Oh, I guess people are either in shock or they're overwhelmed. Hopefully they're just, absorbing this all. Okay, so I'm going to show you several new field options. And I kind of, this was funny because when I went in to add new fields, you go into your setup area, you go to the customization modules and fields. I went into the contact area like I've done 1,000 times in the past. I could identify those new fields really easily because they put that little Subaru sign that we talked about right here and here. And I go, oh, great, there's 2 new fields. That's great. But ironically, when I was reading through some of the notes about new features, pick list is not new. That's your drop-down list. but I found something new in there that I'd never seen before, a little bit of a surprise. And I found some new things in the formula area that I'm going to go over. So every so often, for whatever reason, I guess they need to have an update, new and improved button, because, there are some new things going on in here as well. So we'll start with the radio button. Radio button is that little round thing. You have a choice of one thing. You can only put 3 options in a radio button. You can't have 25. You get a choice of 3. So when we set up that button, you give it a name, like I called it color. You have a choice of either calling it a radio button or a group button. And you can have visibility, show all or show only. So I put in my 3 options. I went down here and said enable color for options. And I picked my 3 options, red, white, and blue. And I picked a color. Go figure. I picked red for red and blue for blue. If you pick this radio button option in your layout, you're going to see a radio button choice. It's going to look like this, red, white, and blue. And you pick one and only one little button. If you pick the group button, it's going to be more horizontally laid out. So you can pick red, white, or blue, and you can just click on them. Now, if you showed this visibility and you said show all, it's going to show you all the choices. It's going to show you the one you picked, but it's going to show you all the choices. So if you want to change, you can just click, 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 and just change to a different choice, which is nice. If you pick the show selected, it only shows you the selected one you want. You're going to have to hit the little pencil, and then you can edit the choice. So that's the new radio button. We now have a roll-up summary. And I gotta be full disclosure, I don't know if this is new or not, and I'm a little ticked off. They've had this feature in here before, and it did not work. And I was very aggravated. I wrote to the folks and talked to the folks that I knew at Zoho a number of times and said, it does not work. So what they did is they're now calling it a new feature. What they did is they took out the pieces that didn't work and added a few new pieces that do work. So is it really a new feature? I don't know. Unfortunately, the thing I wanted it to do was taken out, but still kind of fun. So roll-up summary. Think of your account list. You're looking at a list of all your accounts, and you want to know how many calls for each of your accounts. Or you're looking at your contacts, and you want to know how many attachments do I have for each of those contacts. You can't see that information on your contact list, your account list. You have to go into each individual account or contact, and actually there it will give you a number. So I go into Missy's record and I've got 6 attachments, and I go into Sebastian's record and I've got 4 attachments, but I want to see that for all of my contacts on my contact list. So that's the purpose of a roll-up summary. So to create the field, we give it a name. You decide what module. Are you counting calls? Maybe you want to see how many calls have been made to each of the, maybe you're looking at your leads and you want to know how many calls have I made to these various leads, right from my lead list. You'd pick the leads module. Now they have custom roll-ups and they have predefined roll-ups. Custom roll-ups, you kind of just tell it what you want. Well, I want to find the, usually people are picking the sum. Maybe you want the average of all the deals. You can pick whatever you want. You can also use these predetermined ones. And they will, if you pick the deals module, they'll give you some predetermined ones. If you pick the calls module, they'll give you some predetermined ones. So again, I'm thinking of people like Sinorama that might have a list of current customers that work is being done on. And maybe you want to see how many total calls have been made for these people, or how many tasks are out there for these people. It's another way of being able to view all this data and knowing where you have to focus your time on. Okay, these are not billed as new, but they're things that I stumbled upon. So Zaya, of course, had to get into the act. I mean, what's worse than an AI program that actually helps you do things? I can't imagine. So traditionally, if I made a formula, I would go in here and I'd give the field a name, and it gives me all these functions. And I prayed very hard that none of my clients would ever hit me with something like, oh, could you do a natural log of this field and that field? Because I have no clue what a natural log or base one base 10 log is. But I was pretty good with add, subtract, multiply, and divide. So basically I could take a field and I'd hit insert, and then I would say, okay, add that to it. I'd take another field, I'd hit insert, and I would make my formulas. Well, now we have this new Zaya that will do this for us automatically. So this I did for my folks, can I have a thumbs up for my folks at Wise Software? You guys out there? Jamie, Brian, are you guys out there? Thumbs up. How about, there they are. And how about MicroCAD? Got any of the MicroCAD folks hanging out there? Yeah, I think we have a bunch of MicroCAD people out there. This is for you guys. So if you look at Zaya, I hit Zaya, and of course she was like, how can I help you? So I said, all right, I want you to write me a formula that multiplies the number of employees by the CRM software that they're using and use the value of $444 for Zoho 1 and $278 for Zoho CRM. So Jamie, let's say you have 20 users and you have 5 users using this product and 6 users using that product and 4 users using this product, and you want to have that total value for that account. That is a formula that, yes, I could create manually. It would probably take me a year or so, or I could go into Zaya, and that's exactly what we did. Same thing for MicroCAD. If you're looking at, how many users they have, how many pieces of software they have, maybe how many classes they're paying for, you could design this and actually see the value of that account. And I thought that was very cool. A few other things that were added into the formulas, and these were all new things that I just stumbled upon. There's a new formula called stop. And I was trying to think, and unfortunately, my mind went to kind of a dark place on this one. Why do I want to stop a formula? So I know a lot of people are in insurance or accounting, and they need to see a person's age. So they have their birth date, and then they want to see what their current age is. So I'm thinking, okay, if they died, they don't want to know that they would have been 210 if they had they continued to live. Maybe we need to cut this off when they died. So if the field changed to deceased, stop running that formula. That's the only one I could come up with. We could do formulas within formulas now. Before I could do a list of numbers, and then I could do another list of numbers. Now I could do one that says, okay, take the total from this list of numbers and multiply it by the total of that list of numbers. So I can have formulas within formulas. And then we also have an auto refresh. Prior to this time, I would type in my numbers into a formula, like my 5 numbers, and then I hit my refresh button for it to total up. Now there's something that's called now. That means as soon as you type those numbers in, wham, it's going to give you your answer. If you're not sure how to use those, my suggestion would be to ask Zaya, how can I use the now function with this formula? Or create me a formula that will do this, this, and this, and include the now function. So kind of why I threw these in there. Here's another.
Yes. Marcella has her hand raised. Did you want her to type a question into the Q&A?
Go ahead. What was your question? It was a question.
They just have their hand raised. So
okay. So if you have a question, if you would mind typing it into the chat. It's easier for us to be able to get back to it if it gets skipped or whatever. So anybody else have any questions in the chat? Okay, so yeah, Marcella, make sure you get your question in there so we can get it answered. So this number 9 feature is categories, and again, I stumbled upon this. I have created pick lists and pick lists and pick lists. Now, this does not apply if you're using a global set for a pick list. That does not apply if you're using a multi-select pick list. It's just a plain old ordinary pick list. And those of you that have taken my webinars before, I have a hard and fast rule. You should not have, really, your pick list should be somewhere between 8 and 18 items. If it's more than 18, you've got too many items, you should create a second pick list. You don't want those pick lists to be overwhelming. But that's when I was doing this presentation, I wandered in here and all of a sudden I'm like, holy guacamole, what's this? I haven't seen this before. Define records category. So of course I had to investigate a little bit. We can now manage categories. I think that this is going to be expanded on. I don't know if it's complete. Right now, we can manage categories. So I went in there and I could set up 3 categories. And I picked success, failed, and open. It only gave me 2 little emojis. I didn't have like a purple middle finger or anything else fun that I could have there. So I basically had, thumbs up, thumbs down, and none. But those were my categories. And then as soon as I hit this define records category, stuff popped up. So what happened is I went in here and I could say, okay, in my pick list, prospects, I'm going to consider those open. Customers, I'll consider those a success. Vendors, I'll consider a success. Continue to contact, we'll call that open. So I was able to start categorizing things. And I think the way this is going to play out is going to be in reports, in that figuring out how likely a deal is to close. I think it's going to be showing up soon on our contact list. I'm not seeing where you can pull this information up a lot, but the fact that they have this here leads me to believe that it could be a really cool way, in the future of saying, okay, here's everything that I did that was successful. Here's all the stuff that I did that wasn't as successful. Okay, Work Drive. Work Drive is Zoho's version of Dropbox, OneDrive, or Google Drive. You are not going to switch to Work Drive to save yourself money. I've got some basic prices here. It's not going to save you a lot of cash. It's going to save you time. So if you bought a basic plan of Work Drive, it's $5 for 2 terabytes a month for Zoho Work Drive. Google charges 14, Dropbox is 10, OneDrive is 10. So it's not saving a lot of money. Now, if you have Zoho CRM, you have this for free. Yes, that word would be free, F-R-E-E, a word I do love. So if you have the pro or standard version of CRM, you have a 1 gigabyte Work Drive account. Now, this is not the size of your data, your number of contacts, number of notes. This is attachments that you might be adding. So Signorama folks, maybe you're taking pictures of signs that you want to have up there. I know I have a roofer that is taking pictures of cracked tiles. So these might be contracts that you send out to people. These would be the documents that you are attaching to your Zoho CRM. You get 1 gigabyte if you have the Pro Standard, plus they give you another half a gig, 512 megabytes for each additional user. If you have Zoho One, which comes with Enterprise CRM, they give you 5 terabytes. That 5 terabytes, don't hold me to that because I thought it was 2. ChatGPT was telling me it was 5. So it's somewhere between 2 and 5. Still a nice allowance. Even if you have the free CRM, which some of you have, it does give you 1 gigabyte of storage space, which is kind of nice. But again, this is if you don't have a server anymore. You want to have online storage, but it's used in CRM. So you might have seen this message that says Zoho CRM file storage transitioning to Zoho Work Drive. I had a number of people that have asked me about this. Usually in terms of the world as I know it is coming to an end. I have this message. What do I do? This is not a hard one. It's basically saying if you had any documents in the old version, which was called My Folders, and the Documents tab, they're moving it to the new one, which is called Work Drive. They give you this migration guide, which really honestly doesn't tell you anything. There's really nothing that you need to do other than just hit proceed with migration. and they will move it for you. There's nothing that's going to go wrong, nothing heart-wrenching. Your world as you know it is not going to come to an end. They're just telling you they're changing features. They're also telling you if you want to do this later, they're going to keep hitting you with the sign. But if you want to do it later, you can go into your setup area, storage, data administration, file storage, and you can proceed from there. So all it's doing is moving from the old system to the new. Normally, Zoho will expand features. I think this one, they felt it was better to totally redesign it. They did the same thing with campaigns and marketing automation a few years ago. Sometimes it's too hard for them to get in the features they want, so they actually make a totally new feature. And this is one of those cases. So let's see what this looks like. Okay. All it means when you hit that migration is previously you had something when you looked at a contact record that said attachments. That was the old service. When you move to Zoho Work Drive, you're going to have something that says Zoho Work Drive. So once you've made that transition, you want to go into your related list area here and customize it and get rid of the old attachments because you don't need both. You're going to be using one or the other. This is the old, this is the new. The old school documents module, you would go to attachments and you'd hit the plus sign and you could upload a file. You could go to Zoho Work Drive and upload a file. You could go into your Google Work Drive and upload a file. If you had a link, you could put in the link to a file, and that's how you upload a document. Then on attachments, it would give you a list of your attachments, the date it was put on, the name of the document, how big it was. With the new Work Drive, it works a little bit differently. You go into Zoho Work Drive, and now it still lets you upload, but now it gives you a new option, new folder. Any of you that came over from ACT knew that there was a horrible, terrible feature in there called attachments. And they had an attachments folder without the ability to create subfolders. And some of my clients had, 35 gigs of documents in there, no folders. It set back computing about 25 years. Here we can make folders. And from this point forward, if I make a folder for Missy, anytime I put a document in, it will go into that folder. How nice is that? So, and yes, you can create those folders either from contact records or from account records, because maybe you don't want them to be individuals. You want it to go to an account record. So how do we see them? Well, we can see them from the contact record or the account record. We can also, in the old version, we had documents up here. This is an example of our old tab screens that we had. We could go up here to documents and we would see all the documents that we had, and we could organize them from here and make folders from here and drag and drop them. The new version takes away some of that onus of creating the folders because we've already created the folders. The new version, you're going to go to workdrive.zoho.com and you're going to see all your folders. You can have permissions. Here's all my clients. You can see that the client folders that I made. You can change permissions if there's certain folders you don't want to have all your users have access to. So it's just a more sophisticated option. It's also a little bit easier for those of you that did have something like Work Drive or Google Drive and you want to move your documents over. It's an easier way for me to get them over. I can set up a folder, I can move everything over there, and then you can start moving them around the way you want. A lot of my clients had servers, and they're getting rid of the servers. But online storage is so cheap. It's a new server could cost you $20,000, or you're paying $3 a month for one of these online storage things. It's just kind of the wave that people are moving to. Okay, now you're going to get a little bit of Karen lecturing. Half the fun of CRM comes from adding data. The other half comes from finding it again by using things like your home screen, which we've talked about, reports, dashboards, and the all-new work queue. This is what I hear all the time. We have 5,000 contacts, but most of them are old and outdated. We do a terrible job of following up on new leads. My sales guy, or me, has no idea where to start every morning, and I'm still relying on spreadsheets. If you're doing any of these things, you are using your CRM incorrectly. CRM is meant to save you time. If you're still doing manual processes, if you're not able to put your finger right on things first thing in the morning, you're doing something wrong. So this new work queue, and I renamed it What's on My Plate Today. The work queue is, and again, you see this new feature. Work queue is going to tell you exactly everything that's going on. You can go here to your tasks and you'll see all your tasks listed. You go here to meetings, you can go to calls, you'll see everything listed here. You can see your leads, they're all listed here. So we don't have to keep going, oh, let me go to the leads module, let me go to the home screen, let me go over here, let me go over there. It's one-stop shopping, which I love. And it's totally customizable. And at no additional price, you can create multiple work queues. So here I created I have a work queue. I can give it a name. I can drag and drop these guys and put them in a different order. I can decide what I want to show. I can have it in the category view. The thing that I do want to emphasize, people get confused between team space and work queue. Work queue is showing you what you have on your plate. What do you have to do today? Team space is just the modules that are easy for you to find if you want to go see all your contacts. So that's the difference there. But that work queue, try it out. Amazing new feature. So here's how we add these new queues. And by the way, I don't think I mentioned it, but each of these little squares is called a queue. You know, we're used to dashboards, and they're called each of the little items in the dashboard a board. In work queue, your meetings is a queue. Your leads are a queue. Your contacts are a queue. So we can add new queues. And when we go in there, they have suggested queues, like maybe you want to have all your hot deals coming up this week, or you want to see all your tasks or your scheduled calls. You can also create a queue. You pick the module and you can base it on a custom view you might have created already. You can base it on a date field. You can base it on any field that you want, and you can create your own custom queues to include on your work queue. Really cool new feature. And now a not so cool feature, in my humble opinion, and that's called Voice of the Customer. And the best part about this is not only doesn't it work well, but I think they're going to eventually start charging you for it. So I think they need to get their act together a little bit here. So again, if you go into Zaya, you're going to see something that says Voice of the Customer, and you can see it's a new feature. And according to my research, because I had to do research because I couldn't get it to work, it's going to give me data visualization and sentiment analysis and all these wonderful things. And it's going to be basing it on if I'm using Zoho surveys and email and Zoho Desk and call transcription and Zoho Social. Now, full disclosure, I do not send out surveys. I'm just don't use Zoho survey. I don't use Zoho Desk for, cases. I do use email religiously. It's all, in Zoho. I have a phone system that integrates with Zoho. So every time a call comes in, it is logged to my contact records. And I use Zoho Social. I post to LinkedIn quite a bit. And I monitor, websites in there. So Voice of the Customer is, up here in the old layout. You can see it, they have a tab for Voice of the Customer. And it's supposed to show me all this wonderful information. And you notice that I'm still in the trial period because I'm going to be paying for this after a certain period of time. I don't know about you folks, but I'm not seeing any information in there. And I've refreshed and I take a look at the dashboards and I've moved through here. So far, I am not seeing any information. I think it could be really a cool feature. Just right now, if you're seeing Voice of the Customer, you can't get it to work, you are not alone. I couldn't either. Okay, questions. Missy, do we have any questions?
There was one about a more beginner video, and I posted a link to your YouTube channel where you have all your previous webinars.
Okay.
That's the only question that I see right now.
Okay, well, maybe you guys are in shell shock, and or maybe you just, just wanted to get out there and try these features. And yes, Zoho can be overwhelming. And again, some of these features, some of them you might use if you see one feature in there, like the software people, if they see one formula feature in there, that's great. If you don't see anything you like, you don't have to use them. I just like you to make you aware of what's out there, because Zoho is so comprehensive and has so much information. Our next topic is going to be in April. It's going to be on quoting and invoicing and the Zoho Finance Suite. A lot of you are thinking about moving over to Zoho Books and to replace QuickBooks. Some of you just want to be able to send out quotes or send out invoices. I'm going to be talking about the various ways that you can do this. We have small, medium, and large. We can keep track of our products. We can do all kinds of things around products and quoting and invoicing. And then in May, I think this is a question that people just get so confused on. We're going to be talking about emailing, because there's tons of different ways to email out of Zoho. You can use your Outlook account. You can use Zoho Mail, which is like a replacement for Outlook. You can create templates. You can do e-blasts. Any of you that have Zoho CRM, unless you're on the free version, you have a certain allotment, a daily allotment, anywhere from 250 to 1,000 emails per day. So I want to go over some of these things, your templates, and how we can do these things. So those are going to be our future webinars. If you have other topics you'd like covered, if you think you want more basic features, anything, let me know, and I can, this is not set in stone. I can always move some of these topics around and do a more popular topic if y'all let me know.
And there is a question about where they find voice of the customer. It says, was that in Zaya?
No, voice of the customer is not Zaya. If you have it, and again, it's a new feature, you might not have it yet. It should be just up here in your tabs. If you don't have this set for all tabs, like if you have a customized tab list, you might have to set that to all tabs and hit the 3 dots and see if it shows up down there for voice of the customer. If you don't have it yet, I'm not sure if this is, I mean, they're just rolling it out, and I don't think they've, I don't think it's just an enterprise feature. I think it's for all versions of CRM, but you might not have gotten it yet. But if you're not seeing it, make sure it says all tabs up here, hit your 3 dots, and then pick voice of the customer. Or if you're in the other interface, I think it's in that other interface. I don't know if I have a screenshot that goes down that far. No, I do not. But if you're using the new interface, it should be listed down here under voice of the customer.
I think it might also be under the gear tab in one of the menus.
I think this is for the setup. I don't think you have to turn it on or off. I think this is for the setup. But you're right. That's a good place to look for it. If you go into setup, and I think that was that in the Zaya section?
You had a screen showing
I think you're right.
Does it?
Timeout for bad behavior.
I think you're too far now.
Was it the setup? I think it was. Yeah, there it is. So it's in the Zaya section of setup. That will tell you definitively, you're right, if you have that feature or not. And this is how you would go into the setup of that feature. So if you're not sure if you have it, go into your profile picture, go into settings, go into the Zaya section, and see if you have voice of the customer. If you don't, it hasn't been rolled out to you yet.
There's one more question about, can we integrate Zoho CRM with the POS system we use, CoreBridge?
Okay, that Zoho can literally be integrated with anything under the sun. But unfortunately, if the sun doesn't allow for integration, then we can't. So right now, that is Corbridge. That is that I don't know the backstory. I don't know if they can't or they won't. For the Zoho side, absolutely. Corbridge has to open up their back end. Now, there is another product called Gorilla Dash, which was created. This is for the Sinorama folks. And Gorilla Dash was created, from what I understand, to try to bridge that gap when we go to the conference in April. I think it's going to behoove us all to speak to the people at Corbridge and find out if they can't or they won't open up that integration. So my answer is kind of. Yes, it could be, from the Zoho side, yes, it could be integrated. From the Corbridge side, I don't have a clue. Okay, other questions?
There are not any more posted at the moment. They're just asking about getting copies of the webinar, which
Yeah, and you're going to be getting those probably in about 10 minutes. You're going to get an email. It's going to take you to my YouTube channel. This won't be uploaded probably for a few days. I'm going to Colorado skiing this weekend, which should be fun since it's 90 degrees projected in Denver over the weekend. So I have the feeling I'll be in Denver, but I might not be skiing. So probably won't get posted until next week sometime. So check back maybe like Tuesday, Wednesday of next week on my YouTube channel. And in the meantime, all my old, my previous webinars are all posted up there. Other questions?
There's one more at the bottom, which I think you might have talked. It said, can we integrate with Gorilla Dash?
Yes, you can absolutely integrate with Gorilla Dash. You need to reach out to me, and I can get that done for you. My email is Karen@techvendors.com, and we have to make sure that you're, on our list we have like a queue of people that we're integrating, so we want to make sure that we get you on that queue. Anybody else?
That's all I see.
All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Missy, for your help. You make a wonderful Vanna. Thank you all for your time. I'm sorry we went over a little bit. You have other questions, please feel free to reach out to me, Karen@techvendors.com. I'm always there for you. And if you've got other topics, please let me know, and I'd be thrilled to cover them. And I hope you all have the great rest of your day. Bye, everyone.